What's up, guys? Another episode of Recovery Talk. And as you guys know, Amy Dresner is going to be here joining me in a second. I'm so excited about this one. Once again, as always, the purpose I started doing this is to carry the message and show other people that recovery is possible. During the pandemic, I started doing this because with a lot of things closing down, one thing that will never close, and I always say this, is social media. People who are struggling with drugs and alcohol, they are all on social media. Now, Amy's going to be here real soon. I can see her over there waving at me. But before I get Amy in here, I want to just let you guys know the format of today. It's going to be a lot different than the ones I normally do. So Amy will speak for a little bit. She's going to tell her story. A lot of people know Amy's story. Like, I don't know where you've been if you haven't heard her story. She is an author. She wrote a book in 2017 called My Fair Junkie. A lot of women have been reaching out to me about this. And I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited. So today, we're going to focus more on Q&As, and we're going to do some topics after Amy shares for a second about herself and her story. But I'm really, really, really pumped about this. I'm so grateful to Amy for agreeing to doing this with me here. So without further ado, guys, here we go. Let's get her on. Hey!
Hey!
Hey, can you hear me, Amy?
Yeah, I have my earphones on. Should I take them out?
Oh, wait, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
You're super soft.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can see your mouth moving though.
Great. All right, let me try the earphones again.
I'm sorry. Amy, it's not you. It's not you.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's perfect. It's you? You fucked up?
Yeah,
All right,
my
great.
earphones was connected to my phone. Sorry.
Nice job, Alika. You're like, I'm a fucking pro. I do this every week. And then I was like, I've never done it. Like, should I put a
sorry.
filter? Just let everyone see my 51-year-old acne. Hey.
Oh my goodness. Hey, thank you again, Amy, so much for being here. I'm
Of
so
course,
excited.
man. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, Amy. So thank you again. A lot of people, they know who you are. We talked earlier about this, and but there may be somebody, because I'm gonna post this after it's over, somebody that watches it eventually. They may not know you. So just for those people, can you just how long have you been sober? Just ask you that.
8 years, and I was 8 years January 2nd.
January 2nd. Okay, and then where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles.
Okay, from LA. And then what was your choice in drink and or drug?
Crystal meth and IV cocaine use.
Oh, all right.
I don't fuck around, man.
Yeah.
I don't fuck around. Like, let's get to where the fuck we're going.
Right.
I didn't start off with IV drug use. That was the end. Well, the end was actually something else. I'll tell you the whole story.
Yeah.
Should I put a filter, you guys? Should I put a filter and look like phony and like beautiful and perfect? What do you guys think? No one's telling me?
You must
Filter
look good.
or no filter? I don't really wear makeup, but
You look
anyway.
good, Amy.
Rookie, LOL. Chris, no filter. Everyone, okay. All right, pure. Everyone, Sean, what's up, Sean? Yes, filter. Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. No, you're beautiful as you are. No filter. All right, let's go raw. Let's raw dog it.
There you
raw
go.
dog it. I'm so disgusting, you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm really gross. You're like, wow, this isn't what I expected.
No, this is exactly what I expected. I love it.
Okay, I'm 51 years old. I'm an only child of a screenwriter and a designer. I have an enormous amount of mental illness and addiction in my family. So if anyone wants to have children with me, I'm available. No, I'm 51. Fucking that store's closing. That store's fucking closing, man. That shit is over. My mom is sober probably 50 years. just an enormous amount of mental illness and addiction. My uncle was a schizophrenic and a meth addict. My mom was a meth addict and an alcoholic. She was a model, and my dad's just been drinking, and that's like his personality, like depressive writer. Like that's Jews. We're just like depressive. So, I was very pure growing up, and I think that's kind of interesting about us that we're sort of extremists. You know what I mean? We're
Mm-hmm.
like, so I was like, I'm a virgin, and I don't smoke, and I don't do drugs, and burn, burn, burn. And then so I showed up, and then at 19, I'm a sophomore at college, and everyone's like, ew, you're a virgin and you've never drank? Like, what a freak. And I was like, oh shit. So like I got laid and loaded immediately. But it was like, so that's very us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're like either smoking meth or like vegan and doing CrossFit. Like we're not good at like at moderation. Like I was a
No.
sex addict, and now like I haven't been laid in 4 years. Like I'm
Yeah.
like I can't kind of find that middle ground at all. And started off with drinking, blacked out the first time I was 20, found crystal meth at 24, and that for me was the drug that made me feel like I had arrived. I was like, holy shit, like I felt normal. I
Yeah.
felt normal for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't depressed. I didn't hate myself. I had energy. I wasn't nervous. I just was like, this is the drug for me. Why isn't everyone on it? It was so much better than Prozac or any of the other fucking psych drugs they'd given me. And so, but you can't, crystal meth is gnarly. Like, it ended up, I stayed up for 17 days and wrote a new Bible. And,
Yeah.
like you get crazy. You get fucking
Yeah.
crazy. You're like refinishing furniture at 4 a.m. And it's like, it's bad. Yeah, the wheels came off with meth for me. Yeah, totally, Chris. Like, there are no old tweakers because they're dead. It's like it's bad. So I had a seizure in a market, and that was my first time going into treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm in my fucking bed, you guys. What a fucking lazy piece of shit. Like, in my bed. What's up, guys? I've been in rehab 7 goddamn times, so I'm a slow learner. I would get periods of sobriety and relapse, and periods of sobriety and relapse. And I was in 12-step, and I had a sponsor and doing the whole deal. And I have big feelings. I have mental illness. And really bad depression. And the feelings would come up, and I was just like, fuck it. And I didn't even care. And I rarely thought it would be different. I knew it wasn't going to be different, and I just didn't give a shit. I didn't care if I died. You know what I mean? We're not afraid to die. We're afraid to live. I hate to
Yeah.
be trite, but that's true. So, 7 rehabs. I was sober for about 7 years without the program, and I don't give a fuck if you're in the program or not. Oh, here comes Colonel Puff Puff. Ooh, Colonel Puff Puff, come here. Come say hi. You have soup on your face. Okay, you're disgusting. Stayed sober for about 7 years, and then had like a nervous breakdown. I've had a couple of nervous breakdowns, and if you've had a nervous breakdown, welcome. And if you've had a restraining order against you, welcome. And if you've been in jail, fucking welcome. And if you've been in 5150, fucking welcome. It makes great stories. So
Yeah. Hey,
it's not great for
Amy,
the match profile.
wasn't one of them you had a nervous breakdown? You were in London or something?
Yeah,
It
in
was a
London,
whole, it was a bunch of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, it was a bunch of stuff. I got off my medication. I got my heart broken. London, that weather alone will make you slit your wrists. It's like, oh, I mean, I love Britain, but like that weather, whoa. And yeah, I slit my wrist with a box cutter,
Yeah.
and I opened up a bottle of wine, and so then they moved me back to LA. So anyway, I realized during that period of sobriety that I had given myself epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
I started having grand mal seizures like all the time. And so I went and saw a doctor. This was when I was living in Paris. And when I was living in Paris, because I'm really important, you guys. And I started having grand mal seizures like all the fucking time, just like falling over out of the blue, like biting my tongue, like frothing at the mouth. And it was really scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then a French neurologist was like, he did a bunch of scans, and he was like, did you do a lot of drugs? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you have hyperactive lesions on your frontal lobe
Oh,
from
wow.
doing drugs. So now I've had grand mal epilepsy, like a seizure disorder, since I was 35.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been on medication for that. But I still have all my teeth, and that's what matters in LA. Hi.
Yeah.
And I look really cute in a helmet. So did that stop me from using? No. I got back to LA and I started drinking in the morning. Someone smoked blue pot in my mouth. I was like making out with some loser at the Standard back when you could actually go out and make out with people and like live a life. And I was high for the first time in 7 years. I was like, yeah, man, I can smoke pot. Like I fucking hate pot. Like it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I started smoking pot every day. And then I was like, well, I can drink. It's been 7 years, man. Like, let's do it. And so I started drinking, and now I'm drinking in the morning because like that's like the best time to be drunk in the morning. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like so fun. You have like this secret on the world. Like you're like no one knows as you like fall down your steps. It's like, okay. And then I thought, well, I could do Coke because Coke was natural.
Yeah.
Meth was made from gun bluing and Drano, and Coke would be okay.
Yeah.
And I ended up in another rehab, and then I got out and I started shooting cocaine
Mm-hmm.
because I was a drug addict. I was going to die a drug addict, and why not just really surrender to that and save money
Yeah, just go big.
and really get the high you want. So I would shoot coke and I'd have a seizure, and instead of going, hey man, I should really fucking stop shooting coke, I wore a bike helmet shooting coke so I wouldn't crack my head open. And that, my friends, is fucking addiction. That is
Yeah.
it. How do I get what I want and not pay the consequences?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to take care of myself. I'd been a trust fund baby and I'd always been taken care of, and I would have been mentally ill and a drug addict my whole life, and I was broken, and that was a great way to get people to take care of me.
Right.
And so when people take care of you for long enough, you don't know how to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got married to someone so he would fix me and take care of me, and that's the wrong reason to marry someone. And that marriage went downhill very quickly. And I got a shoulder problem. I got something called frozen shoulder that only happens to like bitches in their 40s. And they gave me Oxycontin, and it was over. And
Uh-huh.
so I started abusing the Oxycontin and drinking Four Loko because I'm classy.
Yeah.
That shit gets you where you need to go. I don't give a shit
Yeah.
what anyone says. Like, I think it's illegal now. Like, Four Loco's the shit. My God. Whoa. And on Christmas of 2011, I got in a fight with my now ex-husband,
Mm-hmm.
and I pulled a knife on him,
Mm-hmm.
and I got arrested for felony domestic violence
Yeah.
with a deadly weapon, and I went to jail, and I lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Isn't that
was,
how your book opens up?
yeah, it
Yeah.
opens up with well, you gotta grab people. Fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, let's like, I know addicts. We have a short, we don't have a big attention span. You got to grab them. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, that'll grab them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lost everything and was left penniless in a psych ward. Went to rehab a couple more times, more sober livings, and then like fucking landed in a sober living where I was there for 2.5 years, and had 204 hours of community labor, and I got sober and swept the streets on a chain gang
Yeah.
with fucking me and like 40 Hispanic guys. It's the fucking best month. I show up and I was like, hi, I'm the only girl and the only white person, and they're like, everyone like ignores me, and I was like, and then one guy comes up to me and he's like, what you here for, Weta? I'm here for DUI. What you here for? And I was like, oh, I'm here for felony domestic violence with a deadly weapon. They were like, oh shit. So they were like, this bitch is crazy. And no one fucked with me after that. And I got homemade churros, and I was like one of the boys, and it was fucking awesome. I was bummed when I had to finish. I learned how to paint. It was the fucking shit, man. It was the shit. But no one fucked with me because I had more time than anyone else, and I was one of the few people there for assault, and they were just like, you're fucking bananas, bitch. So it's a lot of funny stuff in the book about that, and that was life-changing. I lost everything, and that's exactly what needed to happen to me. It just flipped the whole script. And I remember I was sweeping like human poo,
Yeah.
sweeping human shit on the street. And I was like, my fucking ex sucks, and my lawyer sucks, and this isn't fair, and blah, blah. And then I went, this could be the best thing that ever fucking happened to me.
Huh.
Or it could be the worst thing, and it's my decision.
Right.
Like, what if I reframe this? What if this is the best thing that ever happened to me in disguise?
Mm-hmm.
What if I embrace this? What if this is all the lessons I need to transform? And I just decided that was going to be the case because I had to finish or I was going to go to fucking jail.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can learn teamwork. I can learn a work ethic. I can sweep like a motherfucker now, man. I am good. It just shifted me. I got really humble
Mm-hmm.
because I'd been a princess. I'd been an asshole. I was an asshole. And, when no one talks to you because they're criminals, like, you get humble, except
Yeah.
for like homeless drunk people who are like, I know it sucks, but stay out of the pen, brother. You're just like, oh my God. Like, some dumb bitches were like, oh my God, I love what you're doing. I love the environmentalism. Like, how do I become part of this? And it's like, you just try and kill your ex. And that's,
Yeah.
stab your fucking husband. And you two can be part of this. And the worst thing my book opens with a Will Rogers quote, which is, the worst thing that happens to you can be the best thing for you if you don't let it get the best of you.
Right. Yes.
Someone asked me if I went to jail. Yes, I went to jail. And I was out in 5 hours because I don't remember most of it because I was fucking in a blackout because when my ex-husband called the cops when I tried to stab him, he called and he's like, my wife is mentally ill and she's a drug addict and she just tried to stab me. And I was like, oh, fuck, I need to be really relaxed if the cops are coming. And so I went and did like a shitload of Valium and Oxycontin. And then I blacked out in jail. But thank God I had an old sponsee who was a bail bondswoman. So I called her
Ah.
up and I was like, hey. And she was like, oh my God, my old sponsor. Like, how are you? And I was like, I'm in jail. So,
Wow.
God. Anyway, so
Whoa. Man, you're hilarious. Oh, another thing I found out about Amy today that I was unaware of was that she was a comedian for 5 years. I mean,
yeah.
it's just hilarious, man. It's so funny. Like my face is sore from smiling, like literally. Um, okay, guys. So that kind of sums up Amy's story. It's amazing. But you know what? At this time, everybody, if you guys have questions for Amy, she would love to answer some questions. So if you guys got them, you guys can put them down there in the comments, and she can go ahead and answer them for you guys. But while we're waiting for some comments, we're gonna start talking about some different topics.
Okay.
So let's see. I got a list of them here. Okay, real quick, you want to talk about your podcast, The Rehab Confidential?
Yeah, I started a podcast with Joe Schrank, who is a very provocative person. He is a social worker. He started The Fix. A lot of people don't like him, but he's
Yeah.
really, really smart
Yeah.
and asks the hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we started a podcast called Rehab Confidential, where we get politicians and athletes and actors and writers and talk about drug policy and how the rehab business is fucked up and body brokering and racism, and it's been really interesting. I've learned a lot, and we've had harm reduction specialists. We just had an ibogaine guy on there,
Yeah.
and we just cover everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Listen.
he and I come from 12 step, but you know, I'm about inclusivity. I mean, I'm
Right.
really clear, like that doesn't work for everyone, and I had to go outside of that to find other things to work for me. So, like, I'm down with whatever. If yoga, yoga with goats fucking gets you sober, fucking awesome.
Yeah. Um, you know what? Since you mentioned that, because that podcast you're talking about with the harm reduction, I listened to that one. That was a really good one
There's
because
two. There's one with Tracy Helton, who's a harm reduction
yeah,
advocate. And then there's one with Erica Sandberg, who is a community activist who
yes,
doesn't like harm reduction. Oh, someone's asking, what is the difference now compared to the 7 year spread you had? Was it
mm,
losing everything or you had more tools now?
no,
I didn't have a real shift before. I was just had a really small life and just wasn't using. I was still like depressed and an asshole and very entitled. And so when I lost everything and I had this big shift, I started to realize how important it was to make my own money, you know, be, you know, sustainable, build my own self-esteem, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, and having tools, really looking at myself and looking at my part in things.
Okay, you got a couple more. Blair's asking, how did the book come about?
I'd been writing for The Fix for about 6 years. I'd been writing articles for them, kind of, you know, and chronicling stuff as it was going along. And a friend of mine who was a comic, sober, got a book deal, and I just said to her, "Hey, would you mind passing along some of my writing? I have an idea for a book."
Hmm.
And she did, and the agent loved it, and he was like, "Let's have a call." And he was like, you know, "What's your idea for your book?" And I told him, and he was like, "Write it, bitch." And I was like, "What is it, bitch? That's not me. That's me." So I wrote a proposal, and then we sold the book. And I'm incredibly lucky to be someone who sold a book. And what it was a little slow out of the gate because I didn't have a big platform. And but it's done well, and it's a very raw, funny addiction memoir that talks about a lot of stuff that a lot of women's addiction memoirs don't talk about, like domestic violence, like sex addiction, like
Hmm.
intravenous drug, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's helped a lot of people. People write to me all the time, and it's fucking awesome. It's the best thing I ever, like. I had no idea, you know, what would come out of that. I just was like, you know, I just knew, like, I was on medical disability and I had no money, and I was like, "Well, you better get writing, girl. Is your story becoming a movie?" It is. We are shopping a TV pilot right now.
Uh-huh.
So that's all I can say about that. But keep your
Yeah.
fingers crossed, because it would be so much fucking, it would be awesome. I want to bring accurate depiction of addiction as a woman to
Hmm.
the screen.
Right.
Rehab, all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I think
That,
Euphoria is cool, but she's 16. That's different than when you lose your shit in your 40s.
yeah.
You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? When you lose your shit in your 40s, like, now I'm 51, and it's like, I don't know how the fuck to do anything.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I was depressed and a drug addict for the entire time I should have been growing up. So now it's like, oh, cool. Like, I don't know how to change my oil. I don't, like, I'm having to learn all this shit I should have learned in my 20s. It was like, and my parents are getting sick, and I'm having to handle all that stuff. And it's just a lot of growing up.
Look, further up, there was more questions. Somebody asked, do you ever get tired of talking sobriety?
Of course. Oh my God. Hello. Hi.
um, let's see.
But it's important, you know what I mean? That's why when you said tell your story for 30 minutes, I was like, get the fuck out of here, Lisa. I'm not doing that. I was like, I said, I want people to ask questions.
Yeah.
That's more interesting to me. And
Yeah.
that's a different chance. If you want to hear my story, we'll listen to one of 100 fucking podcasts that I've
Yeah.
poured myself out on, you know?
There was another one below that. It's from Tracy M. It says, "Have you ever heard of this Naked Mind? It's similar to
Uh-huh.
Doctor."
I
Oh
know.
yeah.
I've been on Annie Grace's podcast, of course.
Oh, okay.
We
Cool.
we all know each other.
Yeah.
Everyone who has a podcast and a book knows each other.
Let's
How'd
see.
you get into comedy, and then how'd you get out? I got into comedy because I was so fucking bananas coming off shooting cocaine. I was sharing in meetings, and people were dying laughing, and I was just sharing honestly. And a couple comics came up to me and they're like, "You're really funny," but I was really just mentally ill. And they were like, "You should do stand up." And so I did. And so I did stand up, but I got to tour all over the country, and it was fucking awesome. And I stopped doing it when I tried to stab my ex-husband, and my whole life came wrong. Okay, you know, I wasn't like, when I was trying to get sober and like go through a divorce and a criminal trial, I wasn't like, I got to do a tight 10 at the comedy store. Like, I was like, that wasn't important to me. It was what it, and I also wanted to shift the focus. Like, comedy is like about, it was like I was really focused on like what was fucked up and broken about me. That's what was funny. And I wanted
Mhm.
to characterize myself and recast myself in my mind as not a fuck up,
Uh-huh.
and as someone who could get their shit together, you know?
You see there's another question from Nicole.
Read it to me.
She asked, how let me see. how has your sobriety slash mental health been challenged in COVID, and how have you
Oh my
coped?
God.
It's a good question.
Hi. Um, it's been really difficult. Not so much my sobriety. Well, I quit vaping during COVID, which I don't recommend. It worked, but I haven't wanted to use, but I've definitely suffered from depression.
Hmm.
It's been very lonely. I live alone with this fucking oh look, he has fucking food on his face with that thing. And I live by myself. I'm very close to my neighbors, but I mean, I'm by myself and I'm single and I'm paranoid as fuck about COVID because I have a shitty, shitty immune system. And so the loneliness and the disconnection has been really hard for me. And there's a lot of pressure also for me to like write the second book and like and like like I was like I'm gonna get an ass like a 24-year-old stripper and I'm gonna write my second book and I'm gonna and it's like then you're kind of like maybe I can take a shower, it's been 3 days, like it's hard just. And I think that a lot of that is breaking down of the routine. And for alcoholics and addicts, routine is everything, even though we hate it. My dad was always about that. So when I don't have routine, I just can like, I'll just spend all day on eBay looking for like t-shirts or watch Netflix or just like fuck around, do nothing.
Yeah.
And my dad used to say to me, discipline creates stability, Amy. Stability doesn't create discipline. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't even know what the fuck that means, Papa.
Hmm.
And what he meant was that a disciplined, routine life gives you a feeling of stability inside. That if you're waiting for that feeling of stability
Hmm.
in order to do the things you need to do, like exercise, like meditate, like write, like go to your job, like go to meetings, you're wait forever. It's
Hmm.
you take the action. And I found that that's true. I can't always do it if I'm in a really deep depression. Like I'm in my bed, man. That's the best I can fucking do, you
Yeah.
know? But I have found that if I take action, the emotion changes and the feelings change.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Like, because I got sober in a 12-step program. Whenever somebody new comes up to me or I'm speaking somewhere, they always ask, what would you say your last words to the newcomers? And my suggestion, what I say is always the same. I always say to take massive action because
Yeah.
if you're an alcoholic and a drug addict, you know how to take action. I mean, that's some hard work, man. Pushing our body to the limit, our minds, and figuring out, remembering what lie you told to who, and this and that. That's something I always say. So,
Well,
let's
that
see.
was what really changed in this sobriety. After fucking 17 years of relapsing,
Hmm.
I was like, fuck my feelings. You know what I mean? I had a sponsor and he goes, you don't have to be a good person, Amy. You just have to act like one. Nobody knows the goddamn difference. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem very truthful. But he's right. I'm judging myself on my intention and the world is judging me on my actions. And
Uh-huh.
what I found is that if I was like, okay, I'm going to act like the person I want to be, no matter how I fucking feel. And what happens is when you take contrary action over and over and over
Hmm.
again, you create a new neural pathway in your brain over time that becomes your default mechanism. So
Yep.
it's not, so then you are that person.
Hmm.
You've changed your fucking neurochemistry. It's called neuroplasticity. It's called bidirectionality. There's a lot of science behind 12-step stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not a big fan of like the God stuff. I know that's your fucking jam, Alika, and fucking whatever, but like that's not really my jam, but I like science and to
Yeah.
me, like that's what I found works is like fucking action. And it's like
Yeah.
for me, either I'm doing it every day or I'm not doing it all. If I fucking if I miss one goddamn day of meditating or working out it's over.
Yeah.
Then I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Like just like how you explain the chemistry in our brains, because like the after I suggest that to take massive action, because it is it's obviously it's a lot of hard work, but somewhere along the line it stops being hard work and just becomes a way of life
Well,
because of what
that's
we just
because
talked
you've
about.
created a new neural pathway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you had a neural pathway before with all the fucking drugs. And it was
Yeah.
like, that was the whole thing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Why does my
Oh,
hair look so fucking dirty? I just washed it. It's got to be
I know. I
dark.
seen
All
your
right.
post last night. You washed your hair. It
Mm.
doesn't look dirty to me,
No,
but
it's just I need to be blonder.
yeah.
Um,
Hey,
but what else?
so look, let's talk about because we both started, well, we got sober in a 12-step program. Now,
Correct.
the next topic, let's talk about anonymity because some people confuse anonymity with secrecy.
Hmm.
We both got actually sober in the same fellowship. So, let's talk about that because some people, they may not even know. Other people who never got sober in a 12-step program,
Hmm.
they don't know the anonymity thing. And I, like, if I remain anonymous, how is people gonna, how are they gonna know? You know what I mean? Like, that's my whole thing. Back in the 30s, I mean, they were too small. You know what I mean? Like, if
Right,
everybody
right.
wanted,
So, well, okay. So I've gotten a lot of shit for this. I've written a lot of pieces about this, and I've gotten a lot of shit for it. And there were famous people who refused to blurb my book because I broke anonymity, and I talked about AA. And
yeah,
I was like, "Fuck you," you know. But the real reason for anonymity back in the 30s was there was a completely different stigma back then. You know what I mean? For
yeah,
alcoholism. And
uh-huh.
also, they were so small that they couldn't really handle, if everyone was writing to them and contacting them, they were too small to handle all of that stuff.
Hmm.
We're in a fucking totally different era where there's, fucking, my fucking strange addiction. There's celebrity rehab. There's sober house. There's intervention. There's, people, stars coming out and talking about coming to meetings. There's fucking Brad Pitt talking about AA and whatever. And it's like, I just feel that it's my sobriety and I get to do what the fuck I want.
Uh-huh.
I don't break other people's sobriety.
Hmm.
And I understand a big part of it also is, and I'm not making money off fucking 12 step. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
so I also have some criticisms of the 12 step. Those are in my book. Like, I got fucked by a lot of old timers, and
Uh-huh.
that's part of the real deal, you
Uh-huh.
know? And so, um, I'm I also feel like, people think, well, if you're in AA and you relapse and they think AA doesn't work. Well, first of all, AA doesn't work for everybody,
Uh-huh.
okay? And second of all, if you had, like I said, for me, relapse was a big part of my story, and I
Yeah.
think it is for most people. Not, most people don't roll in on a fucking court card, be like, and get sober for 30 years. Like, sorry, that's just not everyone's fucking
Yeah.
thing. So it's like, I just think that people say, well, if you relapse and you say you're in AA, it makes it look like AA doesn't work. Okay, well, if you have cancer and you get chemotherapy, do people think chemotherapy doesn't work?
Yeah.
No.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're all different. Everyone's addiction is different. We all have come in with different psychological problems, different biochemistry, different, trauma, and to
Hmm.
think that we're going to all have the exact same solution is lunacy.
Right.
So, I can always tell who's sober. Like, I went to a new chiropractor and he goes, "Have you done breath work?" And I go, "You fucking sober?" Like, no one talks about breath work. Who talks about breath work?
Yeah.
Except for like a sober person or someone who's in like Burning Man. That's it.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, I'm sober. How did you know?" I was like, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, when I was using, I used to know who was holding, and now I
Yeah.
always know who's fucking sober. I can just tell. I can just tell. Well, someone will be like, "I had a resentment." And I'm like, "You sober?" Like,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I know, that's so
So, I
funny.
mean, yeah, I'm not about proselytizing AA, but I'm not about fucking hiding anything either. I think it
Right.
makes it more spooky. A lot of people think of it as a weird Christian cult, and I think that if you hide it, it's more skull and bone society and weird. And it's like, why don't we just be open about it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
That's me. That's my take, and I get
know?
shit for it, and whatever. I
Yeah.
also get shit for, you know, I mean, coming from 12 step, and working with Joe, who's a social worker who's in 12 step, he can't say 12 steps the way. He's a fucking social worker.
Yeah.
So you have to give agency. So, I'm tired of seeing people die. So
Yeah.
everyone's sobriety is different. If you're on Suboxone and you fucking feel okay and it keeps you from fucking putting a needle in your goddamn arm and dying, yay for you. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's none of my goddamn business. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, where's the pure? Why the fundamentalism, and why the pure, like this weird purity, like competition? It's so weird, you know. And then people get
Yeah.
sober, and then they're like, I gotta stop vaping, and I gotta get off coffee, and I've gotta stop gluten, and I've got. It's like, calm down. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I mean, I'm on seizure meds, and people would be like, well, those are controlled, and it's like, fuck you. I don't want to live my life in a helmet. I'd like to. I lost my license twice. I've had 12 grand mal seizures. I've broken teeth. I've cracked my head open. Like, this is what I need to do. You
Uh-huh.
know. How are your past relationships, friends and family, once you got sober? Um, I've always been close to my family. They've always supported me. My father has cancer. Well, he's in remission, but my mother has dementia. And I'm so happy I got sober prior to all that happening that I can show up for them now. Um, some friends like left when I tried to stab my ex. They were kind of like, bye, like, you're fucking, it's too much. Um, most of my friends stuck by me, and those are my friends today.
Mhm.
I tried to reconnect with my high school friends, but there's just too much of a gap, man. You know, it's like they all are married and they all drink wine and they all have kids and they
Mhm.
don't. It's like, you know, I just, you know, my whole life is sort of helping people in recovery, and we just don't have enough in common,
Right.
man.
Yeah, I can relate
You
to
know what
that.
I mean? Like, us just doesn't, you know. Just I wanted to connect with my childhood friends, and I wanted to be like, oh, like, who was I before this? But, like, you know, addiction changes you,
Yeah.
and it changes you, but it changed me into someone good. Finally, first I was a monster, you know, I was a fucking monster, and then it changed me into who I wanted to fucking be, man. But, you know, yeah, I just don't have a lot in common with people who are like, yeah, my kids and wine and mammoth and, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Do you still sponsor others? I do. I do. And I still have a sponsor who I run all my terrible, terrible ideas by. Most of the time before, instead of reporting after.
Yeah.
Going, yeah, I've done that too, though, where I'm like, hey, you're not going to be happy with me. I did something. And he's like, he usually guesses. So
Also, you have a male sponsor.
I do. And
Okay,
people freak
so
out about that too.
yeah, because in the room, that's what I learned. That's what they taught me. That's the culture. The men stay with the men, the women stay with the women. But in the book that I went through, it doesn't talk about that at all.
There you
The,
go.
the
Now that's
first,
the reason to know the fucking book, because
yeah,
in the beginning, all fucking women were sponsored by men because there were no fucking women to
yeah,
sponsor. So
yeah,
it's like, have I been fucked by male sponsors? Totally. That's happened to me. I mean,
yeah.
that's for real.
Uh-huh.
Not my sponsor now, who's like 65 years old. Fucking no. You know what I mean? And it's like, he sponsors a lot of women. But did I pick sponsors who I thought were hot? Like, that was stupid. You know what I mean? Like, they never
Yeah.
raped me. Like, but I'm very close to my dad, and I can hear men better, and I feel more comfortable with men, and I have a lot of women friends, and I think it's one alcoholic talking to a fucking another. And it's
Yeah.
like, as long as those fucking things are clean and you feel okay about running a sexual inventory by someone, who
Hmm.
gives a shit? You know what I
Right.
mean? Because then
Yeah.
it's like, men stick with the men, women stick with the. What if you're gay?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So I think
Ye-
it's really clean motives. That's it. I don't think there
Yeah.
should be any, but there's no hard rules about that, or even not dating in the first year. Although I did that, and I, like, got destroyed and destroyed people. And it's you're crazy, so it's a bad idea.
Yeah, because like my take on that is like, the book doesn't talk about it anywhere in there. And also, back in the 30s, it was only men. The first woman to got sober was Miss Marty Mann. And that told me a man took a woman through the process. So, it's like, well, what changed since the 30s? Like, I don't understand, but I don't know anything. So when I come in, I'm just learning from, and then as
Well,
time
there's a
goes
lot of
on,
stuff that's been passed through, the
there's old timers
rooms
that been telling
that
you.
becomes, like stuff like that like antidepressants aren't sober. That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Bill Wilson took acid his whole fucking life. He was on Miltown. He was on one of the first fucking antidepressants there was. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? That's absolute bullshit. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen be told by someone to get off their psych meds and they either relapse or they kill themselves.
Right. Yeah,
There
exactly.
is a meeting where you cannot share if you're on antidepressants. It's like,
Oh,
honey,
really?
if have you ever been on an antidepressant? They don't make you high or happy. They make you undepressed if you're lucky. Like I
Yeah.
was on 5 fucking meds and smoking meth. Like get with the program. You know? I mean, there's a comorbidity between addiction and mental illness. Most of us, it's like 80%. Most of us have mental illness. And
Yeah.
we were completely, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, you know, drugs and alcohol kept me from blowing my fucking brains out, even though I tried to kill myself a couple times. And a lot of us are completely self-medicating stuff. A lot of, you know, bipolar people before they know that before they're properly diagnosed, a lot of people are
Yep.
medicating their depression or their anxiety or whatever. And it's like, again, you know, if someone tells you not to take your meds, be like, where's your fucking medical license? Because practicing fucking medicine without a license is a fucking felony. And I will tell
Yeah.
you, from having, you know, been charged with a felony, you don't want that.
You know, because that's kind of like we'll move into the topic of like harm reduction and the stigma and all of that, because you're kind of touching on it, you know, right now, like, you know, people who are on Suboxone and stuff, they kind of wean off these things. You know, back in, if you kind of, if people read their big book, they talk about that back in the day. They, you know, these guys that were sober would have bottles at their house for when somebody comes over that's struggling. They kind of detox.
Well, that's what
You know.
scares me a lot about some of the new sort of like people that are doing groups and encouraging people to do a dry January or blah, blah, blah. Like, if there are 2 drugs that can kill you getting off them, cold turkey. One is benzos and the other is alcohol.
Yeah.
So to tell someone, you know, do a dry January, your skin will be better and you like won't feel like it's bloated for spin class.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you don't know. You could give that person a goddamn seizure. You don't know how much they're fucking drinking, and I
Yeah.
promise you, they're lying about how much they're drinking. So
Right.
it's like really, this is a serious like life and death shit, man. You
Yeah.
know,
I
you
agree.
can't. I mean, I was at a vintage fair, and someone goes, "You're glowing." She goes, "Well, I gave up drinking," and I was just like, I mean, it's great. Why do you have to cuss so much? Just be cool. You got enough intensity as it is. Okay. Why do you have to judge me and criticize me alive and make me feel weird? It's just a nervous habit.
Hey,
I've
so
done a few.
no, so you know, talking more about this you know, harm reduction, because coming from a 12-step program, when I went into school to become a counselor, my mind was closed off to the idea that harm reduction is a good thing. Until I became a counselor, I learned the benefits of it. I met people that have their lives was saved because of it. But you know, as the culture in the 12-step program, things I've learned, that's like, you know, that's enabling. There's no solution in that, but it's an introduction to a solution, because like you said, people cannot just full abstinence. I mean, they could die. All these alcoholics, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and also in terms of harm reduction, you know, again, you know, people are allowed to use drugs. It's their choice. And
Yeah.
if they want to use drugs and live their life, why, you know, not everyone is capable of abstinence and not everyone wants abstinence.
Yeah.
So, how do we keep people alive and not spreading hep C and not spreading HIV and all that kind of stuff? And you know,
Right. You know,
there's
because
also a lot of people, and it's like it's a stepping stone to many people to sobriety.
yeah,
And for some people it's not, and that's cool. It's none of our business, man. You know what I mean? It's like, but I don't want people dying. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I got Narcan and
yeah.
whatever, and it's just like, so I think that, you know, I was talking to a friend who does a lot of Jen Elizabeth,
Hmm.
who Resurrection of
Yeah,
Me, who does a
yeah.
lot of work on Skid Row
Yes.
with Sidewalk Project, and she's, you know, abstinent, and she said the worst stigma and
Hmm.
prejudice against harm reduction is coming from within the recovery community. And
Yes.
I think that I really feel that, you know, we need to become inclusive. Like
I agree. I agree.
all paths
Hmm.
are cool. Like,
Yeah.
why does it have to, you know what I mean? Like, who cares how you get there or what you, or how you find it? It's cool, man. And it's like, not like this is the way or this is the way. Like, I really feel that. And so, you
Yeah,
know,
like in my experience, being in a 12-step program, things I learned and things that has helped me, there's this huge trap we can fall into, especially in regards to harm reduction, where I go, whoa, I start comparing my recovery with somebody else's recovery. But like,
exactly.
and that has nothing to do with me at
That would
all.
have never worked for me. Would that have worked for me? That would never work
Yeah,
for
me
me.
neither. It
But
wouldn't.
you know what? But it's like, if that's where they're at, you got to meet people where they're at, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
Uh-huh.
softer place to land. It
Yeah.
really is.
And me,
Than
I'm
like,
I'm pro
if you
life.
don't stop, you're gonna die. Like not everyone can get with that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like me too, I was the same way. I
I
know
just
for a
think it's
fact.
really righteous. I think it's incredibly righteous and judgmental to think that you know the way and that that's not okay. And like, it's none of my goddamn business. Like I stay in my own lane.
Yeah, because that screws me up when like I used to do that a lot because that's kind of like how I was taught, I guess you could say, in a 12-step
Totally. It
culture.
took me a while to
You
come
know,
around. I
yeah,
mean,
it took me a little while too. Where I because I know for myself, I guarantee harm reduction would not have worked for me. I know that, but I made the mistake of comparing that not working for me to everybody else. You know, and
profanity is not a sign of spiritual growth. Okay. Honey, you can jump off. You don't have to stay on. I disagree
Oh,
with that completely, but okay.
okay.
Um,
So, okay, you want to keep talking about this, or you want to move on to another topic?
yeah, let's keep moving.
Okay, let's see. Okay, you talked a lot about it already, the brain chemistry. It was a doctor that
Oh,
helped you.
Howard Wetzman.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so there is MTHFR. There is a mutation in many drug addicts and alcoholics in the MTHFR gene, which is the gene that produces the enzyme that breaks down folic acid into L-methylfolate. And L-methylfolate is the building block for dopamine and serotonin. So
Yeah.
you can get tested for it. It's an expensive test, and you can get tested. And if you have this genetic mutation, you cannot break down the nutrients to create enough dopamine and serotonin.
Yeah.
And so they suggest that you take an L-methylfolate supplement. And so I do. Um, am I, does it fix everything? No. Like nothing fixes everything. And that's what I think, I think there's many pieces to the puzzle. It's like you've got to exercise, you've got to be of service, you've got to meditate,
Yeah.
you've got to, you got to take care of your body. Like I had an ear infection. They put me on antibiotics, and
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
God, they
Yeah.
blew out my gut and they made me so crazy. And it's like now I'm learning about the gut brain connection, and that when you
Mhm.
blow out all the good bacteria in your gut, it like screws up your um, glutamine and your GABA, which completely
Yeah.
connects to your neurotransmitters. And it was like I was super manic on one and then like really depressed on another. And there's lots of research, if you look it up, where people
Yeah.
have become anxious or depressed or gone into psychoses and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I wish I'd known. And now I'm like probiotics central.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
Hey,
we're very
you drink
sensitive
kombucha?
creatures.
You drink kombucha?
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
used to sometimes. I mean, right now my stomach is very,
Oh, yeah.
very like, yeah,
Sensitive. I know you were telling
yeah,
me about that the other day. Yeah, but you're
yeah.
okay now,
I
right?
was like, hey, I moved into a smaller place. It's called the studio. It's my bathroom. It was so bad. It was terrible. Um, but yeah, it was interesting when I posted something about it, and I want to learn more about the gut brain connection. And someone else was like, I was like, I can snort and smoke meth, but I can't take antibiotics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But wherein and someone else said, yeah, me too. Like I can snort meth, but like Tylenol gives me anxiety. And I was like, we're just have such strange bodies.
Uh-huh. Okay.
We're there's fighting going on now.
Oh, Amy, it's the idiot.
Of course.
It's hilarious, man. It's so funny. Because you know, you have I listened to one of your like a gazillion podcasts you talked about
I know.
where in that one you were talking about having big feelings and like before like nobody okay I'm gonna say this nobody I wasn't planning on saying this but if you're in the recovery or sobriety community you know who Amy Dresner is. I knew who
Oh,
she
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm in my
pretty
own
like in my
world,
opinion
so
anyway. Like a lot of people know who you are, so I was actually a little hesitant and intimidated to message Amy to ask her to do this because I've done it to other quote unquote you know famous people in recovery
I'm not
and
famous. Oh my God.
you know and that modesty just makes you even more attractive. You're like even more
That's
like
so
wow.
weird to me. That's so weird to me when people like write to me and they're like, I loved your book. And I'm like crying and I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. That meant the world to me. And they're like, oh, I'm fangirling out. You wrote me back. I'm like, I'm just a junkie that wrote a book, you guys. That's it. Like, I'm not living some big lavish lifestyle. I haven't gotten laid in 4 years. It's me and my cat. I hold my cat's hand at night. Like, it's not that great, you guys. I mean, I'm glad that my honesty helped someone, and you
Yes.
know, and I'm happy to write about the. I want to get my second book out there, which is going to be about life in recovery, because
Yeah.
every book is about getting sober.
Uh-huh.
No book is about living in sobriety, which is the
Yeah.
hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah. It
You
is.
know what
Yeah.
I mean? Which is when, like you said, like the big feelings come. My mom has dementia. My dad had cancer. I got my heart broken. Financial problems. It's like that's the real stuff. It's easy to stay clean when things are going your way,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh-huh.
And again, like learning all these life skills, like taxes and like literally, like, I mean, I went to Jiffy Lube and they were like, when did you last have your oil changed? And I was like 7 years ago, and the guy like fell over, and I was like, well, wait, I can make a crack bong out of a Mountain Dew bottle.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, like I was like, I have different skill sets, you know? And so it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, mail and paperwork, we're not good at that. That stuff is totally overwhelming and scary.
Yeah.
I am not very organized. I still can't cook. And it's like, it's just a lot of growing up to do. And I want to be honest about that. And then with my parents getting sick, I had to become my mother's power of attorney.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
had to, you know, and it was like instantly being shot into adulthood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Universe was like, "Oh, you don't want to grow up, honey? Okay.
Uh,
Here you
hey,
go, hon."
hey, so Amy, you're just talking about, you know, your next book that you're writing. Do you have a title for it yet?
I don't.
No?
I
Okay.
don't.
Yeah, because no, but I agree with you because I've read a lot of books on recovery, but it's not a book about living sober and living in
Right.
recovery. It's
And also that it's not also like your wildest dreams and wilding, like, you know, riding a unicorn and blah blah. Like, I mean, I don't know, it can be really difficult, and I think
yeah,
that if you give out the message that it's, you know, you get sober and all your problems go away, you're giving a very dangerous message to newcomers, which is, you know, and when that doesn't happen for them, they think they're doing it wrong, and it's like, you're not doing it wrong. You know what I mean? It's a very slow process. It's peeling the onion, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And so I think life continues. You
yeah,
get sober, but life continues, and you
yeah.
have to feel all the feelings with no buffer.
Yes, I
And
know.
it's intense,
It
man. And if, you
is.
know, yeah. So it's like, you know, not that it's not better. Of course it's better. I was killing myself. It was
Yeah,
horrible. And I was destroying the people around me. It
yeah,
was not viable, and I wasn't productive. I was not a productive member of society. But I think the idea that, you know, you get sober and it's like perfection, like, you know,
yeah.
is
Like,
crazy.
no, no, I agree because there's like this big misconception, and it typically happens with people who are not sober, or but I'm not saying that they're alcoholics, but they're not sober, and they think, oh wow, just you know, you're sober, and your life must just be fantastic. And honestly, for me, it is, but that's just part of it. That's just half truth. It's not like I don't have any problems. I don't have financial insecurity sometimes, or problems with my wife, or you know, other things at work and things like that. Like, of course we do, but what I found is just I got tools to use now today that I
Yes.
didn't have. My twos was
Exactly.
cocaine and vodka. Those are my twos.
Yeah, but you know
That
what? Like also, look, the booze and the coke and the drugs were the solution. The problem is in here. The
was right
problem,
here.
right, is in how we react, how we think, how and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff takes time. It
Yeah,
takes time to
it does.
rewire that. It takes time to change your reactions. It takes time to, and it's like, and there's trauma and there's,
Yeah.
stuff with your, there's all this like, for me, what I'm finding like with romantic relationships is like, I just pick the worst people. Like anyone who is like emotionally unavailable and really shut down and abusive, I'm like, I love you. They're like, I haven't had a relationship in 17 years. I'm not interested. And I'm like, challenge accepted. I mean, it's the worst. And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm having to do a lot of work around where that patterning came from, which is childhood,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and you find that also when you get sober, I don't know, I found that I had my addictive personality came out in other ways, and then I had to kind of squash that, which is all part of alcoholism, which is still
Yeah.
not wanting to sit with yourself. Hello, do you want to say hi even though you have soup on your eyebrow? Okay. Even with not wanting to sit in your skin, and also just kind of the brain we have, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I find I can ruminate a lot. I can really I can just like circle in my head,
Hmm.
like and worry about things. I got future tripping's like my hobby. Like I could teach a course in future tripping. And my podcast partner, and I'm like, what if they blah blah, and my podcast partner goes, I can't have feelings about things that haven't happened yet. And I'm like, it's called worrying, and it's sort of a Jewish tradition. And so, yeah, he keeps me grounded. So, but it's like, it takes time to undo a lot of that stuff.
It does, because I know exactly what you're talking about. When I first got sober, I spent 1 year in a sober living, but through this process, that first year, when I had these feelings that I would get, like anxiety, stress, anger, I always would cope with drugs and alcohol, and it
Right.
was so different and difficult, to feel it in a sober state of mind now.
Oh,
But I mean,
yeah.
I'm glad that I really immersed myself in the program. Like any event, I would go to all the events. I met with my sponsor every week. I didn't skip a beat. I just did what everybody told me to do and what was suggested because my way wasn't working. I
Right.
was tired of it. I just wanted a way out, and these people apparently they have a way out. So I was like, yes, just show me what to do, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Mm. Anybody got any other questions for Amy before we wrap this up, guys? How much time you got, Amy?
I got
No,
whatever you need.
I'm just kidding.
I had to put you off because I had that ear infection and I cried to you. I was like, I didn't even know you're like, hey, thanks for doing this. And I started bawling. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
good. I
I
have
know.
terrible boundaries.
No,
Hard
I
to feel
mean,
good for too many days, so unfamiliar and hard not to sabotage. Very true. That was something that um, when you get sober and you feel good, we're used to what's familiar, not what's
uh,
good for us.
uh-huh.
And so a big reason people relapse is because life gets good, like life builds up,
Mm,
and we still feel like garbage inside.
yeah.
And so we sabotage things so that it feels equal. We feel like we don't deserve what's going on around us. And it's like you have to do the work on your inner self
Mm-hmm.
so that when things get good in your life, you don't feel like an imposter. And it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, now I'm cool. Like before, when I'd be like, this is so boring. I need chaos. Like, I'm going to call my ex. Like, and now I'm cool with stuff being chill. Like, that's the new norm. And I like it. And I don't like when there's chaos. So it's just
Mhm.
things are hard when they're new. And as you do them, it's like a muscle. It
Yeah.
becomes, it just becomes more familiar and easier. And then that's the new you. You don't need to
Okay.
be attached to chaos and being unhappy, you know? I don't recommend it.
Okay. Sorry, I was reading something. But okay. Let's see. Anybody else got any questions for Amy? I give myself a kiss every day. Oh, that's right on.
Yeah, compassion, self-love, all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. One thing that I did learn in school, because you talked about trauma, like a lot of people are unaware of like how much that is involved in addiction and how much trauma actually scientifically proven it changes the chemistry in
The
our
brain.
brains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
and I like it because like I learned when I got sober in a 12-step program, I learned the spiritual side of it. Then when I went to school, I learned the
Right.
biological makeup of the human body and
Right.
the chemistry, and they're both saying the same thing. It was pretty amazing
You
to me,
got to
you
use
know?
all the tools, man. You got
Yeah.
to use all the tools. This thing is gnarly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to use all the tools, whatever someone needs, you know? Oh, someone says they're going to write a book about you.
Yeah, that's my friend Marty. It'll be a short book.
In terms of relapse, it's like, I've been trauma therapy in my childhood. Yeah, girl, I
Yeah.
feel you. Yeah. I'm working with a romance coach, and it's all patterning over, like your unavailable parent. And it's very, very painful stuff. And I've
Yeah.
done grief therapy. It's really, really painful. And that's really when I had my sex addiction. It really wasn't about sex. It was about wanting to check out. It was about wanting love. It was about wanting validation. It was so painful. That was really, really hard to write about in the book. I was
Yeah.
embarrassed,
Hmm.
I was really embarrassed. That was more embarrassing than the drug use, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I get that. That
You
certain person I
know,
can relate. Yeah.
because it's pretty raw, and I was like, oh god, like, and I just thought, well, someone's got to do it. And like,
Hmm.
maybe not everyone's a sex addict, but everyone's done something sexually that they didn't want to do because they didn't feel comfortable saying no, or having a boundary, or they were too
Yeah.
drunk or whatever. So I think everyone has done something where they're like, I didn't really want to do that, but I
Hmm.
didn't want to be a prude or whatever. So, again, it's the feelings behind it all. Is like, all of us have the same feelings, which is like loneliness. We want to connect,
Yeah.
self-loathing, like,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. And it's like, in terms of relapse, it took me a really, really long time to realize that the urge will pass. I don't have to act on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's for any urge, like,
Hmm.
that it will pass. And it feels really, really pressing. Especially cravings can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And if you give yourself 20 minutes, and take a bath or take a walk or watch a show or call someone,
Hmm.
it'll pass, whether you use or not. And if you don't use, it'll come back again, but eventually they'll dissipate. But if you use, then you open up that portal, and then you're on a run, and it's a
Yeah.
nightmare. And I used to, once you get through one craving, and you can't, and you realize you can bear it, and the feelings aren't going to kill you, you're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
It was like smoking. It was like quitting smoking. I was like, oh my god, this crazy, I can't take it. And it was like, and then once I got through it once, I was like, okay, this is extremely unpleasant,
Hmm.
but I can do this.
And
And
how
once
long?
I could
How
do
long
it,
has
you
it
could do
been
it over and over and over again.
since you stopped
I don't know.
smoking?
I quit during the pandemic. I quit. I was
No, you were
vaping.
vaping though, but cigarettes, actual cigarettes.
Oh God, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Vaping was harder to quit than cigarettes,
Oh,
actually.
really? Because
Yeah.
why? It tastes good or something, or?
I think you're taking more nicotine because you're just on that thing all the
Oh,
time. And I
got
don't know
it.
what other chemicals are in it, but like,
Yeah.
I got physically ill when I stopped vaping.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I was like a lunatic for like a month. What's nicotine is a weird drug, because nicotine, the only job, it doesn't make you happy, it doesn't make you high, it doesn't make you relax. What nicotine does is, the craving for nicotine is to relieve the craving. That's it. It's a circular
Yeah.
loop. It's like the worst drug ever.
Uh-huh.
So it's not doing anything for you. It's like, you know, so the relief you feel when you smoke or vape is that you've gotten rid of the nicotine craving. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, so once I found that out, I was like, okay. Plus COVID hit, and I was like, and I was spending a lot of money too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense how it just relieves the craving, and then that's it.
Yeah,
There's
it's
nothing that
not like
happens.
it's not. Yeah, nothing good comes of it. So I was like, well, that sounds like a truly crappy, So I mean, but I mean, I still have cravings. Like, if I go to 7-Eleven and get a yerba mate and there's like a Jewel sign or like a Puff Bar, I'm like, oh, and then I'm just like, hey, you don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. Sorry, sorry, baby. You know.
Okay. Well, okay, Amy. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up? Anything else, Amy? You want to talk about? Anything you want to say?
I guess the thing I would just want to say is like meditation, guys.
Um,
Like I wasn't big into meditation, and I have to say, even just 10 minutes a day, it's big. What meditation gives you, and you can do guided meditation or study TM or whatever, and it's always been the thing that I think a lot of people don't want to do, is it makes you less reactive over time. There's science behind that too. And it gives you realize you're not your thoughts and your feelings. And I think
right.
for addicts and alcoholics, that's incredibly important. Like
Yes.
I always thought I was my thoughts and my feelings. They were me, they were true. And when you meditate, you get to find a center and you get to see your thoughts and your feelings sort of float by like leaves on a river. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. You have 50,000 thoughts a day. Pick
Hmm.
which ones you want to take care, which ones you want to pay attention to. Because, you could be like, oh, I'm worried about, my rent. Like I'm gonna be die alone in a box. Like, oh my god, like I'm da, 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 like all these different thoughts. And you can decide, you can just let it go, or you can get on that thought, which takes you to an emotion, which
Uh-huh.
usually takes you to an action,
Yes.
you know?
And it's so much
So
more
for me,
difficult.
yeah. So for me, that's been really key. It's been really hard to get back into it. And I've had to literally like bookend it with people and police me, like
Yeah.
literally check in and go meditated. Like I'm 4 years old. Like I need a gold star and I need someone to go, yay,
Yeah. Like I can
I need to be held accountable.
yeah.
If I'm going to do it for me, I've broken my word to myself so many times.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like I need to be held accountable to somebody else. And it
Yeah.
was like, so that's what works for me. And I just think that, yeah, meditation sets the tone for the day. It's like,
Yeah.
it's really important. It's really, and it changes your brain over time. It just kind of chills out that sort of reactive thing. And when I was really doing it 20 minutes twice a day, like people really noticed a difference. They couldn't tell when they had changed my meds, but they could change when I was meditating. They'd tell when I was meditating
Yeah.
because things just roll off you. You don't trip out about stuff.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, okay. You move on
Uh-huh.
instead of flipping out and going all Goodfellas on somebody.
Yeah, you know something. Something that I learned as well. This is a while ago. Actually, I learned this active in my addiction, but because I didn't know I had control over my thoughts. Any thought that would jump in my mind, I would entertain and I would do it. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And typically, they're all bad thoughts, really. But I learned that when we have a thought, we literally have about 30 seconds to deal with it. If not, it's going to attach itself to a feeling, and it's so much harder to get rid of the thought and the feeling at the same time. So
Interesting.
I can see what you're saying, man. That was difficult, but
It's
what?
still
But
something I struggle with,
yeah, me too.
especially as someone who's depressive and mentally ill and
Yeah,
reactive and whatever. It's like, I have to really use the pause button.
yeah,
I have to really. Last night, I wanted to just like send a really crappy text, and I just was like, you know what? You don't need to do that.
yeah,
Just what
yeah.
just hold off on that, and there's no reason to do that. And it's
Right.
like, and also what's scary, I mean, is that you can feel differently, completely differently the next day, and then you're like, ooh, wish I hadn't sent that text. It's like a
Yeah.
Penn City, like.
I know because our feelings they're really fickle. Like they come and go, come and go, come
Yeah,
and go.
yeah, but they feel really real, and you have to act on them.
Yeah, yeah,
I guess the one last thing I would want to talk about is shame, and I think that that's the reason that one of the reasons I wrote the book was to break stigma
yeah.
and to make people feel less alone and less ashamed. There
Uh-huh.
is nothing to be ashamed about. You are not your past behavior. This is an illness. We don't know exactly for science. We don't know if it's biochemical, trauma, combination. It doesn't really matter,
Hmm.
but you forgive yourself and you move forward.
Yeah.
And I had to forgive myself and move forward.
Yeah.
I did a lot of really horrible things in my addiction. I wasn't a good person, and I really just don't think shame is helpful. It actually lowers your dopamine.
Yeah.
When you feel ashamed or less than, your dopamine is lowered, which is setting you up for relapse or setting you up for a behavior that's going to up your dopamine level, which is like sex, candy, attention, gambling, whatever. One of the reasons that connecting with other people is so important is that when you don't feel less than and you feel connected to another group that get you, your dopamine rises.
Yeah.
So, it's like, fuck
Yeah.
shame. That's what I have to say. For
Yeah.
real. Like, don't. It's not helpful. It never kept me sober, ever.
Yeah. No, it can be
It
loaded.
just made me, yeah. It made me feel bad about myself. It's like, you know what? You dust yourself off and you start again. You try and learn something from the relapse and you start again. It's not a
Right.
competition,
Like my thing, I share sometimes when I'm asked to speak or do a podcast or something, is like I believe that addiction is an illness. It is a disease that affects us like no other human sickness can. And and I believe that this disease had its like different walls of defense to protect it from me. And the first one that I had to deal with was pride. And honestly, I never got through that. I never made it into a 12-step program by asking for help. I got caught. That's how I made it. But I suspect that the other walls to protect itself from me was shame. Shame would have been the next one. Guilt, remorse. I would have to get through all these walls to kind of confront this problem I got. But I couldn't even get through the first wall. I mean, the thought comes. I try to fight against it. It just run me over like a Mack truck, like no problem. And I gave in, and boom, and it was just a vicious cycle of torment for me. It was just crazy.
Well, now I'm finding out from, you guys should listen to the new episode of Rehab Confidential where we talk to this doctor, Molecule More, and he explains all about sex addiction, porn addiction, gaming addiction, social media, drug addiction, alcoholism. Alcohol actually changes your DNA. It's really kind of
I didn't
terrifying
know
what
that.
it does. Yeah, it changes your DNA. It actually changes the way that you can fight against it. It's really kind of terrifying. And so what works and it's been really I like science. I think science is fascinating. So,
Okay.
but that's it. And compassion. That's my new thing. Being kind to strangers, like just like when you see someone and you think they look beautiful or you like their purse or you like their hat, just go, "Oh wow. Like I love your hat."
Yeah.
And
Compliment.
watch how they light up. Just random acts of kindness. Just like, "Oh my God, you have beautiful eyes." They'll be like, "Oh my God, really?" Like just random acts of kindness because you don't want anything in return. And so people freak out because you're not looking for anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think right now when we feel so isolated and separated with the pandemic and we've got masks on and we have to stay away from 6 feet away, it's like the doctor's interview will be, Dr. Wetzman is the first one. And then we have another doctor this Tuesday. And they're on Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. So I don't know. That's my new thing is just like giving random compliments to people. And
hey, but what's funny? Like how you were just talking about that, like how when you tell somebody they got nice eyes and they light up. Since I've known you, every time I compliment you, you're like, what?
Great. So I'm not taking it in at all. Thanks.
Like
a lot.
You're good at giving it, but you're not too good at receiving it yet.
I am. Working on it. Yeah. I'm like, that's not true. You're like, your bangs look good. I'm like, that's not true. I know. I should just be quiet and just be like, thank you, Alika. That's really nice. Thanks. That's it. That's all I'll say. Just, thanks.
All right, Amy. Well, okay, that's a wrap for this one, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna post this after this is over. But Amy, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Of course. Oh my God, my pleasure.
Even though you're a woman, I can identify with like everything you talk about.
Well, I have a lot of masculine energy and a really low voice.
Oh, that's funny. That's not why though, but that's funny. But
I'm
I
like,
really,
hello, I know. My mom's like, yes, sir, may I help you? I mean, it's awful. I mean, yeah. No, because we're all the same, man. Underneath, there's all the human feelings. It's the same. It's the
yeah,
same.
yeah, it is. But man, I
So,
really, I appreciate you. I appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability, your transparency, because I think and I believe that's how you can reach people, like more effectively, I guess you could say. Because from the
yeah.
first time I heard you share, I think it was actually in the meeting, I think. And I was like, whoa, man, I can relate to this lady. I felt like that. I mean, I never tried to kill many of my exes, but like the other things,
Hey, you just haven't been married enough times. Keep going. You got one, a good one.
you
No,
know,
I mean, I think that we need to be honest. I think that's connection. I think looking
yeah,
good is just like garbage. And
yeah,
it's like, I think in this world with Instagram and everyone, like, it's just garbage. And no
uh-huh,
one talks about their bad days, but I do,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like, that's where the real connection is. Your secrets are not that unique. Like, you'd be surprised. I'll
yeah,
say the
yeah,
most like embarrassing, like personal thing, and everyone's like, me too, me too, me
yeah,
too. And I
uh-huh,
think that's where the connection is. And it was like, someone asked me, they were just like, were you worried about what people would think about you when you wrote your book? And I was like, if you're trying to look good in an addiction memoir, you're not being honest enough. Like, that's all I have to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, honesty is everything.
yeah,
That's where
yeah,
the connection is. And
yeah,
so,
yeah. And then that's what, to me, that's what stands out,
and that gives
to
you
me the most.
freedom. You know what I mean? Like, everyone
Yes,
knows everything about me. And
yes,
it's like, and that's why people feel connected. I'm just so over all the like looking good. It's like people are dying, man.
yeah, yeah.
People are dying.
Man, yeah, well, I can see everybody really loved this today. Oh man, I'm so glad. I know you're gonna be getting busy here in a minute, so I'm so glad I caught you at a good time, to do this live here on Instagram.
Thank you for having me. This has
Yeah,
been really fun, and you were really prepared, and you've been awesome, and it's been really nice connecting with you. And
yeah.
sorry I cried the first time we were on the phone.
Ah, no.
Baptism by fire,
Yeah.
man. You're like, hi, this is Alika. I'm like, "Ah." You're like, oh wow.
Yeah, hey, she's not kidding. That's actually literally how the conversation went.
I know. You were like, talk to me, girl. What's going on? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, listen, well, that's the beauty of recovery, of talking
Yeah.
to someone else in recovery who gets it, man.
Yeah.
You can just lay it all out. And you were like,
Yeah.
I get it. And you told me your stories.
Yeah.
And it was like an instant bond, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny, man, like how, the our problem brought us together, but the solution will keep us together kind of thing, it's
Nice.
amazing how all of that works. But okay, Amy, look, so somebody's saying we got to do this again. So I'll call you up later. We can talk about that because
Okay, honey.
I know you're
Okay.
super busy and
No, I'm
everything.
gonna go to the chiropractor because I'm like, been really ill, and I'm gonna get some more sticky rice for my stomach. But
Uh,
I didn't use a filter, you guys. Look at that thing on my eye. Look at that.
what is that? I can't see it
Yeah,
nothing.
it's like a zit. I have a zit on my eye. There's reality for you. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, I don't know why you haven't had a date in 4 years. Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh.
Anyway,
Okay. Well, okay, Amy,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much for having me.
Oh, no worries. I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much. I'll call you later, Amy.
Okay, doll.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. That was Amy. She obviously has an amazing story to tell. She's super funny. She's super honest and super vulnerable at the same time, though, which is so attractive to somebody like me that had so much deep, dark secrets. Even though she's a woman, I can relate to the things she did, how she felt, and things like that. So it inspires hope. If you got a story to tell or you know somebody has a story to tell, get them in contact with me or contact me yourself. I'm filling up my calendar for March already. So, it inspires hope. I don't care how you got sober. It doesn't matter to me. God snapped his fingers. You went to rehab, 12-step program, whatever it is. Please, guys, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Every week I go live on Saturday and Sundays. I see the regular people here always supporting me. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this. And also, guys, I'm putting it in order for shirts. Contact me if you want them. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow.